Welcome to Across the Pitch. Let's get straight into it. Let's start with the North London derby, where Arsenal finally got back to winning ways. Coming into this one after those disastrous cup exits against Newcastle and United, you're thinking, okay, Arsenal really need this. No Saka, no recognized striker, but with the way Spurs play, it might actually suit them. Soak up pressure, hit them on the counter, right? First 25 minutes, Arsenal are dominating, looking sharp. And then bang! Completely against the run of play. Son gets a shot off. It deflects off Saliba, and Raya's got absolutely no chance. You could feel the tension in the Emirates. After that bad week, this was the last thing they needed. But then, 5 minutes before halftime, Arsenal get a lifeline. Rice whips in this corner. Because, of course, Arsenal score off a corner. Kinski, who, by the way, is only 21 and filling in for both Vicario and Forster, comes for it, but doesn't get there. Gabriel rises at the far post, and it goes in off Solanke. Bit of controversy about that corner, though. It looked like it came off Trossard last, but hey, sometimes you need that bit of luck, don't you? And then 4 minutes later, Arsenal completely flip it around. Trossard with this bobbling shot, and my goodness, Kinski. Look, the lad's been brilliant since coming in from Slavia Prague for 12.5 millions. He was fantastic against Liverpool in the Cup and even stood out in that wild one against Tamworth. But that's one he'll want back. You could see how frustrated he was. He knew he should have done better. Second half, Arsenal are dominating, but here's their big problem, isn't it? All that possession, all those chances, and they just can't put teams to bed. With Saka on crutches after that hamstring surgery and Jesus out long-term with his knee, you're thinking Arteta has to get a striker in January if they're serious about this title chase. And they nearly paid for it right at the death. Pedro Porro, of all people, hits the outside of the post from this ridiculous angle. The relief when that final whistle went was palpable. Gabriel literally launched his shirt into the crowd. That's how much this meant after those cup exits. For Arsenal, they're now just 4 points behind Liverpool, though they've played a game more. The commitment was there, the desire was there. But my word, do they make it hard for themselves? The groans from the crowd when they over-elaborate in the final third tell you everything. They need that clinical edge, desperately. As for Spurs, apart from that little spell before Son's goal, they just didn't offer enough going forward. Postecoglou tried to change it up at halftime, bringing on Maddison and Johnson for Bissouma and Sarr, but it just wasn't happening for them. Richarlison is back, though. Good news, maybe? Hopefully for Spurs. As Trossard said after the game, and he'd know, having got the winner, getting the ball in the net is the hardest thing in football. Arsenal could have had more, but after the week they've had, they'll take this all day long. 4 points off the top, still in the title race, and most importantly, North London is red. For now, at least. Speaking of title races, let's talk about Newcastle's absolutely incredible run continuing at St. James Park. That's 9 straight wins in all competitions now, equaling their club record. And my word, Alexander Isak is just playing a different sport right now, isn't he? First half kicks off, and you could see Newcastle were up for it. Jacob Murphy, who, by the way, deserves so much more credit than he gets, twice forces Asa into saves. And speaking of Murphy, what a transformation we've seen from him. Everyone seems to forget about him, but the lad's absolutely flying right now. Then there's Isak. Even before he scored, he's out there causing chaos, flashing one just past the post. But then the moment comes. He gets a bit lucky with the deflection off Aït-Nouri. But hey, you make your own luck, don't you? And get this. He becomes the first Newcastle player to score in 8 straight Premier League games. We're talking elite company here. Only Van Nistelrooy, Sturridge, and Vardy have done that before. Remember Vardy's record of 11 straight during Leicester's title-winning season? The way Isak's playing, you wouldn't bet against him having a go at that. Wolves weren't exactly passengers, though. Strand Larsen hits the post right before halftime, and you're thinking, okay, game on maybe? But then the second half starts, and Newcastle just go through the gears. 11 minutes in, Bruno Guimaraes' absolute genius, by the way, threads this perfect pass through to Isak. The control, immaculate. The finish, clinical. 2-0. Kuna comes off the bench for Wolves, and fair play to him. He tries to make things happen. gets through on goal, blazes it wide, and has another go from the edge of the box that's just off target. But then, 16 minutes from time, Isaac turns provider, picks out Gordon, who's somehow found himself in acres of space, and bang! 3-0. Game over. Well, almost game over. Birthday boy Dubravka, 36 years young today, pulls out this ridiculous save from Strand Larsen late on. Bueno thought he'd got one back, but handball ruled it out, though honestly, it was too little too late for Wolves. Remember when Newcastle were sitting 12th in December? Now look at them, back in the Champions League spots for the first time since September. The transformation under Eddie Howe is just ridiculous. Sandro Tonali was running the show in midfield again today, controlling everything, like he's been in the Premier League his whole career. But for Wolves? Oh dear. Into the relegation zone now on goal difference. You can see what Pereira's trying to do. They had their moments going forward. But defensively, they've now got the worst record in the division. That bright start under the new boss feels like a long time ago after that Forest defeat, and now this. The scary thing is, Newcastle don't even look like stopping. Isaac and Gordon are unplayable right now. Murphy's in the form of his life, and they're genuine contenders for a domestic treble at this rate. The way they're playing, you wouldn't put anything past them. From 12th to 4th in a matter of months, Eddie Howe's got these boys absolutely flying. Let's jet off to Italy and talk about that absolute roller coaster at the San Siro, where Inter dropped some crucial points in the title race. Coming into this one, Inzaghi had to shuffle his pack. No Bisek, no Calhanoglu, and no Mkhitaryan, but he did get Thuram back in the starting lineup. First 15 minutes, and Bologna are looking dangerous. Nicola Moro nearly pulls off something special, unleashing a rocket from distance. Sommer? Oh, he pulls out a ridiculous save, tipping it onto the post. But the warning signs were there, and sure enough, minutes later, bang! Moro's involved again, gets a shot off after Bastoni's half clearance, and Santiago Castro's there to help it over the line. 1-0 Bologna, hold on. Are Inter about to lose this one? Nah, they're not top of the table for nothing. 3 minutes later, Thuram breaks into the box, sets up DeMarco, who forces a save, and there's Dumfries to poke home from basically on the line. Game on. And then, right before halftime, DeMarco again with an absolutely perfect low cross. Who else but Lautaro? First time, roof of the net, absolutely clinical from the captain. Second half starts, and it's end-to-end stuff. Dumfries and Lautaro both get chances for their second, with DeMarco causing chaos again down the left. But Bologna hit back. Orsolini cuts it back from the 6-yard box. Holm gets hold of it, and with a bit of help from a deflection, it's in the net. 2-2. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Inzaghi decides to take off his captain Lautaro and brings on Taremi, who, by the way, is still looking for his first Serie A goal. And he nearly got it. Thuram does brilliantly down the right, whips in this perfect cross, and Taremi's stretching everything he's got, but just can't quite get there. You could feel the whole San Siro holding its breath on that one. After the game, Inzaghi's trying to stay positive, talking about how they played an excellent game and created a lot. But you can tell he's frustrated, especially about that second goal. Getting caught out from a throw-in? That's not the Inter we know. And then he gets into it about the refs, which, by the way, means he's suspended for the Empoli game after getting booked. The thing is, this is Inter's first slip-up after 6 straight wins and that draw with Napoli. Speaking of Napoli, they'll be absolutely loving this. The title race is heating up now. As Inzaghi said, every game in this league is very difficult, and my word, didn't we see that tonight? For Bologna, massive credit to them. They came to the San Siro with a game plan, executed it perfectly, and fully deserved that point. Italiano made some brave changes, bringing in Orsolini, Moro, Lycogiannis, and Casale, and every single one of them stepped up. Let's talk about that absolute masterclass from Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena. Coming into this one as league leaders, you'd think they'd handle Hoffenheim, but 5-0? This was something else. And Leroy Sané? Oh, he was unplayable. First 7 minutes, Sané shows exactly why he's one of the best in the business. Upamecano wins it back high up the pitch, quick 1-2 with Müller, and then Sané just leathers it into the far corner from 17 meters. The technique? Sublime. But Bayern weren't done, were they? 5 minutes later, Harry Kane turns provider, finds Guerreiro in acres of space, and bang! 2-0. Hoffenheim's defense looked like they'd never faced a high press before, completely overwhelmed by Bayern's intensity. And then the killer blow in the 26th minute. Akpaguma handles the ball in the box, penalty to Bayern. Who else but Harry Kane to step up, ice cold as always. 3-0 before halftime. At the break, the stats told the story. Bayern had 62% possession, 12 shots on goal, and Hoffenheim, not a single attempt. Pure domination. You're thinking, okay, maybe Hoffenheim regroup at halftime? Come out fighting? Nope. 3 minutes into the second half, Sané's at it again. Brilliant work from Mathis Tell, who delivers a peach of a cross, and Sané bags his second of the night. Let's talk about Sané's numbers. 55 touches, the most of any Bayern attacker, 4 shots on goal, and over half his 20 tackles won before being subbed off. He wasn't just on the pitch, he owned it. Hoffenheim finally had their first chance through Finn Becker in the 71st minute. But Neuer? Still Neuer. Easy save. And to cap it all off, Serge Gnabry comes off the bench and makes it 5-0 after a brilliant ball from Guerrero. For Bayern, this was a performance straight out of the title-winning textbook. Total control, relentless pressing, and clinical finishing. When you've got players like Sané in this kind of form, Kane providing that extra touch of class, and the whole team just clicking, good luck stopping them. For Hoffenheim, back to the drawing board. They're just hovering above the relegation zone, and this performance showed why. The defense was overrun, the midfield couldn't string passes together, and they didn't even look like scoring until the 70th minute. The scary part? Bayern made this look easy. This was Bayern Munich in their unstoppable juggernaut form. With Sané running riot, Kane pulling the strings, and the entire team pressing with that kind of intensity, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in Europe who could stop them. And oh, about those Barcelona rumors for Sané, if they were watching, he just gave them the ultimate audition tape. Speaking of Barcelona, let's talk about that absolute masterclass where Lamine Yamal just put on a show. My word, what a performance from this kid in Barcelona's 5-1 demolition of Betis. You want a fast start? How about 3 minutes in? Dani Olmo picks out Gavi, and the midfielder slots it home with a perfect low strike. But the real story of this game? It was all about Yamal, wasn't it? 27 minutes in, he produces an absolutely ridiculous lobbed pass for Koundé, and the defender smashes home the volley. The vision on that pass from a teenager? Outrageous. Now, VAR was keeping busy tonight, had to rule out 2 goals for offside after Koundé's goal. One from Koundé and one from Yamal, which only made Yamal want a goal even more. 58 minutes in, Lamine starts this brilliant transition, goes past one defender, and when he could pass to 3 wide-open players, he decides to go for goal. His shot hits a defender, and luckily for Barcelona, who's there to finish it? Rafinha makes it 3-0. The way this kid Yamal is playing, you just know he's going to score one. But before that, we've got Ferran Torres coming off the bench to make it 4. Olmo with another assist, and Torres hammers it home from inside the box. And then, finally, with 15 minutes to go, Yamal gets the goal his performance absolutely deserved. Quick counterattack, clinical finish, 5-0. It did go to VR first, which made me think, come on, give the kid his goal. 5-0, game over. Okay, there was a tiny blip at the end. Vitor Roque gets a penalty for Betis in the 84th minute. But honestly, this was as close to perfect as you'll see from Barcelona. And let's talk about these numbers. Yamal's now on 22 goal involvements this season. 9 goals, 13 assists, and he's still a teenager. Just let that sink in. For Barcelona, this is becoming a bit of a habit at home. 7th time this season, they've scored 3 or more at home. That's back-to-back 5-goal hauls now, and they've won their last 4 on the bounce. The way they're playing right now, good luck trying to stop them in this cup run. But seriously, can we just take a moment to appreciate what we're watching with Yamal? The composure, the vision, the end product. It's not normal for someone his age. If this is what he's doing now, imagine him in a couple of years. Football, eh? Sometimes it just produces these special talents that make you go, wow. And tonight was definitely one of those nights. Staying in Spain, let's talk about Atletico Madrid making history at the Metropolitano. 15 straight wins now, their longest winning streak ever, and they did it in some style against Elche. Alexander Sorloth? Oh my days. Simeone's been talking him up lately, saying he could deliver even more despite already having 8 in La Liga. And doesn't the Norwegian go and prove him right? 8 minutes in, the earliest Copa goal of their season, by the way. He's there to hammer home a loose ball from close range. But he wasn't done there, was he? Just before the half-hour mark, Bambo Diaby brings down Samuel Lino in the box, and up steps Sorloth. Ice in his veins from 12 yards sends San Roman the wrong way. The stats tell you everything. 2 shots, 2 goals, worth 1.01 AG. That's what you call clinical. Second half starts, and Elche's night goes from bad to worse. 5 minutes in, Nico Murkow picks up his second yellow for a tactical foul on Riquelme. But here's the thing. Riquelme gets his revenge in the best way possible, doesn't he? 11 minutes later, absolutely leathers one from range. The technique on that? Stunning. Then Julian Alvarez, who'd come on for Riquelme, by the way, puts the cherry on top 15 minutes from time with this quick finish. 4-0. But here's something interesting. This was actually Atletico's lowest shot count in the Cup this season. Only 14 attempts. But get this, 11 of them were on target. Meanwhile, Elche, 10 shots, only 4 testing Musso. That's the difference in quality right there. The scary thing is, this Atletico side just keeps getting better and better. 15 wins on the bounce? In this era of football? That's absolutely ridiculous. Simeone's got them playing with this perfect mix of that classic Atletico steel and some proper attacking flair. And when you've got players like Sorloth in this kind of form, good luck trying to stop them. For Elche, going down to 10 men obviously didn't help. But honestly, this Atletico team looks unstoppable right now. Into the quarterfinals, winning streak extended, and they made it look easy. Sometimes teams just hit these runs where everything clicks. And right now, Atletico are absolutely flying. Back to England, and let's talk about David Moyes' homecoming at Goodison that didn't quite go according to plan. Coming into this one, you're thinking, okay, new manager bounce maybe? Moyes back at Everton after what, 4,000 days? The storyline writes itself, right? But football has other ideas. First half kicks off, and honestly, it was proper end-to-end stuff. Morgan Rogers nearly gives Villa an early lead. Curling one that Pickford had to tip round the post. A brilliant save, by the way. Then you've got Calvert-Lewin at the other end, and oh my days, this summed up Everton's season, didn't it? Gets picked out perfectly by Michaelenko, but just can't find the target. When you're on a 16-game goal drought, these are the chances you're begging to get. And speaking of chances, what about that Watkins miss in the first half? Ashley Young with probably the blindest back pass you'll see all season. Watkins clean through, one-on-one with Pickford, and he puts it wide. You're thinking that's going to come back to haunt Villa, aren't you? Jacob Ramsey had another golden chance before the break, 10 yards out, and somehow manages to put it wide too. At this point, you're thinking, yep, it's just going to be one of those days for Villa. But then, 51 minutes in, Branthwaite, who's been solid all season, by the way, plays this loose pass. Rogers pounces on it like a hawk, feeds it to Watkins, and this time, he makes no mistake. Clinical finish past Pickford, and you can just feel the air getting sucked out of Goodison. The drama wasn't over, though. Everton fans were fuming when Calvert-Lewin went down in the box under Tielemans' challenge. Was it a pen? Maybe. Did VR have a look? You bet. But nothing given. Then in stoppage time, Mangala unleashes this absolute rocket. And Martinez pulls out a worldie of a save. And if you thought that was the last chance, hold up. Calvert-Lewin, 8 yards out, Lindstrom puts it on a plate for him, and he skies it. You could hear the whole of Goodison groan. And this right here? This is Moyes' biggest headache. He's inherited a team that's got decent defenders. You look at Pickford, Tarkowski, Branthwaite, that's a solid spine. But going forward, it's like bringing a water pistol to a gunfight. With Broja picking up another injury, all eyes are on Calvert-Lewin to start finding the net again. But when was the last time any Everton manager got him firing consistently? There's even whispers about him leaving, and you can see why when the team's only scored 15 in 20 games. The thing is, Villa aren't exactly Fort Knox at the back. They've got this habit of giving away silly goals, but Everton just couldn't find a way through. For Villa, though, this is massive. First clean sheet away from home all season. Ends their run of 5 straight away defeats in the league. Gets them up to 7th, and they're only 3 points off that Champions League spot. The race for top four is getting spicy, isn't it? Newcastle, City, Chelsea, Villa all in the mix. But for Everton, oh man. One win in 11 now. Haven't scored in 9 of those games. 15 goals in 20 matches. Only Southampton have scored fewer. Moyes has got a proper job on his hands here. They're sitting just 1 point above the relegation zone. For a team that's never been relegated from the Premier League, that's squeaky bum time. And the scariest part? It's hard to see how Moyes fixes this scoring problem with the same players Dyche couldn't get goals from. Not in the short term, anyway. The most played fixture in English top-flight history, by the way, and Villa extend their unbeaten run against Everton to 12 games. Moyes probably had this homecoming playing out very differently in his head, but that's the Premier League for you. Absolutely ruthless. Moving on to King Power, where, I've got to say, looking at Palace's form, 1 loss in 9, momentum building, and I thought Palace could win through maybe Mateta? Well, would you believe it? First half, though, you wouldn't have called it. Leicester actually looked the better side, but my word, that's been the story of their season, hasn't it? Vardy gets through one-on-one, and you're thinking, this is it. This is where Leicester turn their form around. But no. The chance goes begging, and you can just feel the frustration building in the King Power. Then second half starts, and bang! 7 minutes in, Ismaila Sarr goes on this absolutely brilliant run, threads it through to Mateta, and watch the composure. Round the keeper into an empty net, his 6th of the season. The thing is, this was Palace's first shot on target. That's how good Leicester were. But wait, it gets better. Mark Guéhi, who by the way has been absolutely fantastic this season, pops up with this ridiculous volley after drifting in from the left. The technique on that? My word. Ez's free kick drops over the Leicester defense, and Guéhi just catches it perfectly. Leicester did try to respond, fair play to them. Vardy has another go, Daka gets involved, and then Soumare hits the crossbar. Heartbreak. But you know what they say, when you're down there, luck just isn't on your side. And speaking of being down there, the atmosphere in the King Power? Toxic. Fans getting on the pitch. We want Rudkin out chance. You can feel the frustration. This is 6 straight Premier League defeats for Leicester now. Van Nistelrooy's only picked up 4 points from 24 since taking over. They've got Woyo Koulibaly in from Parma, but they need a lot more than that if they want to avoid going straight back down. The stats are worrying as well. They've shipped at least 2 goals in all 6 of these defeats, failed to score in 4 of them. That tells you everything. But for Palace? Oh man, Glasner's got them absolutely flying. 1 defeat in their last 10 Premier League games, 6 games unbeaten away from home. Their best run since '92, by the way. They're up to 14th now, above United if you can believe it, and 8 points clear of the drop zone. Nothing flashy about this performance, just professional, get the job done, take your chances when they come. The scary thing for Leicester is this equals their losing run from September 2022. You've got to go back to 2001 to find the last time they lost more than 6 on the bounce in the top flight. It was 8 that time. The way things are going, you wouldn't bet against them matching that record. They're 19th, 2 points from safety, and honestly, something needs to change fast. Football is absolutely brutal when you're down there. All right, we'll stop here. Like, comment, subscribe. All these help the channel out massively. I'll see you in the next video. Across the pitch, over and out.